I never thought I would question the very foundation of what I had believed for most of my life. But one evening, while reading alone in my candlelit study, I stumbled upon a dusty, forgotten text. It was tucked behind other books in a secondhand bookstore in New Orleans. No title on the cover, just one gold etched symbol, a cross broken in half. I opened it, and within minutes my heart was pounding because what I found were teachings, words that were supposedly spoken by Jesus himself, but I had never heard them before. Not in Sunday school, not in any sermon, not in any Bible I had ever read. And then came the question that changed my life forever. Why were these teachings hidden, and who decided we should never see them? If this shakes your soul like it did mine, don't forget to subscribe. We're only beginning to uncover what Jesus really said, the truth they tried to bury. It all began with a single sentence. Jesus once said, according to an ancient gospel not included in the Bible, "If you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you." Gospel of Thomas. I read it again, and chills ran down my spine, not because it was dark, but because it was powerful. Because in that one sentence, Jesus wasn't pointing to heaven above, he was pointing inward to the divine potential within us. And suddenly I understood. Jesus didn't come to build religion, he came to awaken resurrection from within. But if that's true, if his mission was to empower the divine spark inside every human being, then why were these teachings erased, banned, buried? The more I investigated, the clearer the picture became. What if I told you there are ancient writings that reveal Jesus didn't ask to be worshipped. He wanted us to become like him. He said, "I and the Father are one," not to elevate himself, but to remind us that we too carry that divine essence. But the institutions couldn't let that stand, because what happens to power if people no longer fear God as something outside them, but start remembering God as something within? That's when I knew they weren't just hiding words. They were hiding freedom. This is just the beginning. Subscribe now, because in the next moments, we're diving into the 7 most shocking truths Jesus taught, truths that could ignite your soul or shake your faith to its core. Stay with me, because once you see it, you'll never go back. I remember the night everything changed. I was sitting alone in my room, the Gospel of Thomas lying open on my lap. It wasn't even supposed to exist in the Bible I knew. Yet there it was, whispering secrets from centuries past, and one line kept echoing in my head like a bell that refused to stop ringing. The kingdom of God is within you, not in the sky, not in a temple, within you. I closed my eyes, and for the first time, I didn't try to pray upward. I listened inward, and what I felt wasn't silence, it was light, a still, glowing flame deep inside. And suddenly I realized they didn't just hide Jesus' words, they hid our identity. They made us believe we were broken sinners begging for forgiveness when Jesus came to say, "You are the light of the world." The first hidden teaching I discovered was startling. Jesus didn't want to be worshipped. He wanted to be embodied. I know that sounds heretical. I was terrified even thinking it, but read this slowly. Why do you call me good? No one is good except God alone. You will do greater things than I have done. John 14:12, he never pointed to himself as the final destination. He pointed to us as co-heirs of the divine. He wanted us to remember who we truly are. But how can you control people who believe they're made of light? You can't. So they replaced empowerment with obedience. They replaced awakening with worship. And slowly, the real teachings of Jesus were sealed away in caves, banned by councils, and labeled heresy by the powerful. The second forbidden truth shook me even deeper, that the kingdom of God isn't something we wait for. It's something we enter when we remember. The kingdom of God is spread out upon the earth, but people do not see it. I used to believe heaven was a reward for good behavior. Now I saw heaven is a frequency, a state of awareness, a remembering, a doorway inside us. You don't earn heaven by pleasing God. You become heaven by aligning with God within you. Jesus didn't speak of mansions in the clouds. He spoke of many rooms in his Father's house, a metaphor for states of consciousness. And if the kingdom is within, then hell too isn't under the ground. It's disconnection, forgetfulness, fear. Suddenly, every parable of Jesus began to make sense, not as literal history, but as spiritual code. The third revelation brought me to tears. Sin isn't filth, it's forgetfulness. We were taught to carry shame, but Jesus came to lift it. If you bring forth what is within you, it will save you. Sin wasn't something to be punished. It was the veil that blinded us from our light. Imagine being told your whole life that you're broken, only to discover the Son of God came to tell you you're not broken, you're just asleep. When Jesus said, "Go and sin no more," he wasn't issuing threats. He was inviting remembrance. Atonement wasn't about blood, it was about reunion, returning to the place where you and the divine were never separate. But again, such a message gives power to the individual, and power, once awakened, cannot be contained by religion. If this is stirring something deep in you, don't scroll away. Like, share, subscribe. Let's awaken the message they buried. The fourth truth, it made me question everything I was taught about death. Reincarnation. For many Christians, it's taboo. But according to ancient manuscripts, early Christian sects did believe in the soul's return, that life wasn't a one-time shot, but a sacred classroom. Jesus himself said, "Before Abraham was, I am." What if that wasn't just about divinity, but a nod to his eternal soul? What if Jesus remembered not just who he was, but where he had been? It would explain why he spoke with such calm authority, why he knew truths others couldn't grasp. And maybe it's why children sometimes speak of past lives until we train it out of them. If the soul is eternal, then it learns across lifetimes, which means the point of existence isn't reward or punishment, it's remembrance. And who controls a population that knows it cannot die? You see the danger, don't you? The fifth truth broke something in me, because we've been told Mary Magdalene was a prostitute, an outcast, but according to hidden Gospels, she was his closest student. The Gospel of Mary, another banned text, shows Jesus trusting her with wisdom the others weren't ready for. She saw him not with the eyes of flesh, but with the heart. She understood his words not just with intellect, but with gnosis, direct knowing. And yet, the early church discredited her. Because if a woman held the keys to sacred wisdom, what did that say about patriarchy? Sixth, the world is a mirror. Jesus didn't preach escapism. He taught that this world is a shadow of a greater light. When he healed, it wasn't magic. He reminded people who they were, beings of divine origin, temporarily caught in illusion. Let the one who seeks continue seeking until he finds. When he finds, he will be troubled. After that, he will marvel. Every suffering, every heartbreak, every injustice, it all became a riddle, a whisper, pointing us back to the flame. And finally, perhaps the most dangerous truth of all, you are God's embodiment, not metaphorically, not figuratively, but literally a fragment of the divine. Paul hinted at it in 1 Corinthians 3:16. Do you not know that you are God's temple and that God's Spirit dwells in you? Jesus never asked us to bow. He asked us to remember. So the question that haunts me now isn't, why were these teachings hidden? It's, who knew, and why did they fear us awakening? If you're still here, your soul is stirring. Don't ignore it. Like, subscribe, share this with someone who's searching. The path we're walking isn't heresy, it's resurrection. But not of Jesus alone, of you. Stay with me for part 3, because now we must confront the final truth. Did Jesus know they would erase his words? And what did he leave behind to make sure we'd find them anyway? Let's finish this together. I couldn't sleep that night. After reading the hidden sayings, after seeing through the veil of centuries of silence and censorship, I just sat there, heart pounding, palms sweating, asking the question that wouldn't let go. Did Jesus know this would happen? Did he know they would erase his words, twist his message, turn the living light into stone temples and golden altars? I looked at the candle flickering beside my bed, and in that moment, it felt like something, or someone, was watching me through the flame. And then it hit me. Of course he knew. This wasn't just a betrayal by priests or emperors. This was part of the plan. Jesus didn't come to start a religion. He came to plant a seed in secret. He knew that power would fear it, that authorities would bury it, but he also knew that one day, people like you and me would dig it back up. He hid the truth not in temples or scrolls, but in the human heart. That's where his teachings were meant to grow. That's where the kingdom was always waiting. You remember what he said? Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away. He wasn't talking about the canonized verses read from pulpits. He meant the eternal voice inside you, the one the world keeps telling you to silence, the whispers that say, you are more than you've been told. You are not separate from God. You are the living spark. Do you know what else I realized? He didn't just leave his teachings in forbidden books. He encoded them in your suffering. Yes, your pain, your grief, your failures. That's where the light hides. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Unless a seed falls into the earth and dies, it remains alone. The real resurrection isn't something that happened to his body 2,000 years ago. It's what's happening right now, inside you. Every time you choose to forgive instead of harden, every time you quiet your mind and listen inward, every time you remember who you are beyond your name and skin and story, that's resurrection. And they couldn't erase that, no matter how many books they banned, no matter how many churches tried to monopolize the truth. So what do we do now? We remember, we speak, we awaken, because if these teachings shook something in you, if you feel that spark stirring, it's not an accident, it's a calling. You're not here to simply admire Jesus from a distance. You're here to walk as he walked, to become the message. I know some of you are thinking, but I'm not worthy. I've made too many mistakes. I'm too far gone. Let me tell you something. Jesus didn't come for the perfect. He came for the forgotten. He didn't sit in temples waiting for the righteous. He walked among the broken, the cast out, the untouchable, because he saw what the world refused to see, the divine in every human face. I'm telling you this not as a preacher, not as a guru. I'm telling you as someone who was once drowning in doubt, in dogma, in fear, and who finally dared to ask, what if Jesus left clues? What if the real gospel is hidden in plain sight? What if the light I've been searching for out there has always been in here? So here's what I want you to do. If this video stirred something in you, don't ignore it. Subscribe now, share this truth, let someone else remember, because this is just the beginning. The gospel of the kingdom isn't just ancient history. It's a living revolution, and it starts with you. Not with belief, but with becoming. Jesus said, the one who drinks from my mouth will become as I am, and I shall become that one. It's time we stopped worshiping the map and started walking the path. You are the light. You are the temple. You are the fire they tried to extinguish, but you're still burning. Now go. Light up the world.